So if you're a homeowner and you want to put a pool in your backyard, maybe you're getting quotes from a couple of pool contractors in the area, what is your number one question? Your number one question is, how much is this going to cost? And if you're going through and you're getting these proposals and one of them's $70,000, the other one's $90,000, the other one's $120,000, all for relatively the same type of pool, and you're probably asking yourself, why are these so different? Well, there's a couple of hidden pool costs that some of these contractors might not be telling you. One might be telling you that there's some dirt hauling that needs to happen on your pool project because you live in a small area and you got to haul the dirt off site, and another pool contractor is not telling you that. And that can be thousands of dollars of difference right there in that one item. And in a pool contract and a pool install, there are multiple things that goes on, and they might not be telling you everything that you need to know. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through a mock-up pool contract, and I'm going to talk about some of the hidden costs that might not be exactly on this pool contract specifically, and we're going to talk about these things so you can be fully prepared for when you have people coming into your home giving you quotes for a pool install, so you can accurately be prepared for how much it's actually going to cost. So for a basic install, we're going to go through here. You have your fiberglass shell or your concrete or whatever. We're going to be talking about a fiberglass pool specifically. So I don't necessarily know the ins and outs of the concrete contractor install or the vinyl liner contractor install. We're a fiberglass pool installer, so we're just going to deal with the fiberglass today. So obviously you have whatever shell you're doing. You have, in this case, an R32, the base install. You have that shell cost. You have a pump, and you have a filter, pretty standard stuff. You have the color selection. If there's a certain color that costs more than one or the other, make sure that that's laid out. You have automation. If your pool contractor offers different levels of automation for chemicals, that can definitely impact the cost of your pool project. You know, whatever automation system that they use, if you're going to do an acid dosing system, something called a pool tiger, or if you have a UV, if you have a bigger filter, whether or not you have a heater, that's another important thing, a part of your equipment pad. Lights, whether or not you get lights in your pool, that's going to be another big hitter right there. Then you have pool options like if you want handrail, if you want deck jets around your patio area, if you want a cascade. Definitely when it comes to your patio, whether you're getting pavers or concrete, that's an absolute massive big ticket item. Whether or not you get one or the other, it's going to impact your price. Concrete is generally cheaper and pavers are more expensive. Obviously that is dependent on, you know, what kind of patio area size you're looking at. If you're looking at, 3 feet on either side of your pool, or if you're looking at 8 feet on either side of your pool, whatever the square footage, that's definitely going to impact the cost. So make sure that you're comparing apples to apples to that. Whether or not you're going to get an auto cover, if that's in the proposal or not, very big ticket item right there. Whether or not you're going to get a winter cover, make sure that when you're going through these proposals that they will, this is a big one, this can be a hidden cost, make sure that they allow for electrical work. Your pool installer is probably not a licensed electrician, so what they're going to do is they're going to have a licensed electrician come in and hook up the auto cover. They're going to have to maybe even hook up the lights depending on local laws and codes in the area. They're going to have to come in and they're going to have to hook up the heater and the pump. There's definitely electrical work that is going to need to be done on your pool project, so make sure that your pool contractor, whoever you're talking to, make sure they have that in the proposal right there for you to see so it doesn't come to bite you later on. Site work like a crane, if you're going to crane in your pool, that's something that is an hourly rate that you're going to have to allow for in your pool contract. So make sure that that's very clearly laid out. Something like dirt hauling, like we talked about before. If you live in a small condensed area in the middle of a big town, then you're probably going to have the dirt that's excavated for your pool hauled off site. That's an extra cost. Additions like robot vacuums, the automatic cleaners, that's just an option for you. Things that aren't necessarily laid out in this package right here, we're going to talk about things like land surveys. So if you live in an area, again, maybe a potentially tight, constricted space, you live in town, a land survey would help you avoid if your pool or patio doesn't pass local regulations or setback requirements. If you have a land survey, you can understand those early on so you can avoid those problems later. So land surveys can cost money. If you need a retaining wall, let's say your backyard's kind of on a slope and you want to put in a pool, well, you're going to have to build up that ground around your pool area so you can actually have a level patio. They're very important to make sure that your yard drains properly and that your pool is stable. So that's a big cost. Make sure that whoever you're working with knows whether or not a retaining wall is necessary. Make sure when you're going through with your pool contractors and you talk about your patio area, make sure you actually go through that fully, 100%. Now, things can change, construction changes all the time, but make sure you guys have a full discussion on how much patio you actually want on the finalized project. Because if you go through and you're saying, I want 3 feet all the way around my pool, and then later on you didn't really realize that that wasn't really going to be enough patio, you're going to have more concrete, which is more cost. So make sure when you're going through all these proposals and your conversations, make sure you guys fully flesh out exactly what you want. Something you might want to consider based off of your home is grass and sod. And during your pool construction, your yard is going to be absolutely toast. It's going to be total, it's going to be destroyed. And you're going to have to reclaim that grass eventually. And it might be a good idea, depending on where you are, depending on how much rain you get, to do that sooner than later and to have that plan established beforehand. Because if you have a bunch of rain that comes in after your pool construction, and maybe you live on a hill, maybe you're going to have a lot of rain runoff coming towards your pool and patio area. If you don't reclaim that grass, it's much easier for all of that to wash out, and it might even damage your pool project. So something you want to consider when you're talking to all of your pool contractors is have a plan to reclaim your yard. Some pool contractors will just automatically have like sod replacement after the pool construction is done, or they may have an allowance for like grass seed. Certain contractors don't. So just make sure that that's something you talk about beforehand, because if you don't talk about that, you may have a big problem on your hands if you have a big storm come through after your pool's been constructed. And finally, kind of one of the other hidden costs that people don't really think about too much is fencing and potential safety barrier. So depending on the area you live in, an auto cover may or may not be an acceptable measure for safety. Some areas may say you still have to have a fence around your pool area. So you're just going to have to look into that with your pool contractor based off of the area you live in. Some places allow for an auto cover to be an applicable safety barrier. Other places don't. And you'll have to do a fence. So fences can be expensive depending on how big of an area you have. So just definitely make sure that you guys talk about that beforehand so you don't get hit with that hidden cost. So just a quick overview. We're gonna snap through them really quick. Make sure that the shell is there. Make sure that the color options don't affect your price. You're going to have to deal with stuff like your equipment. Make sure that the equipment is kind of what exactly you're going to need. A plan for patio, that your patio is exactly what you want, that you're not going to have to spend more on concrete or landscaping later on. Retaining walls, that's another big important thing that ties right into your patio. Make sure that you are going to need a retaining wall or you're not going to need a retaining wall, one or the other. Site work like electrical and gas, hooking up your heater. You might need licensed gas fitter to come out and hook your heater up. That's another hidden cost. So electrical and gas work for sure. Dirt hauling, you might have to haul your dirt off site. The cost to crane the pool in. General building permits, in your area, you're going to have building permits to actually put your pool in, so that's a hidden cost. So if you have 3 or 4 pool contractors scheduled to come in, start taking notes. Make sure that all of these things are actually brought up during the conversations you're having. If you have a pool contractor that gives you a price of $70,000 to $80,000 and another pool contractor that gives you a price of $100,000, you got to really, really be vigilant and compare apples to apples, because one may not be telling you the full story. So hopefully this video was helpful. See you guys next time.